Chapter 9. The House of the Three Bears. Beth took a cushion, put it at the top of the slide and pushed off. Down she went. Whiz! She shot to the bottom, flew out of the trapdoor and landed on the cushion of moss. She'd hardly got up before Franny flew out of the trapdoor too. "You know that slippery slip is the greatest fun," said Beth. "I'd like to do that all day long." "Yes, if only we didn't have to climb all the way up the tree first," said Franny. The trapdoor flew open, and out shot Moonface on a yellow cushion. He put the 3 cushions together, whistled to the red squirrel who looked after them, and threw them to him. He then turned to the waiting girls. "There's a train at midnight," he said. "We shall have to hurry." The wood was still bright with moonlight. The 3 of them hurried between the trees. Suddenly Beth heard the chuffing of a train. She and Franny stopped in surprise. They saw a small train winding in and out of the trees, looking for all the world like an old-fashioned clockwork toy train, but made big. The engine even had a key in its side, as if to wind it up. There was a small station nearby. Moonface caught hold of the girl's hands and ran to it. The train was standing quite still there. The carriages had tin doors and windows, which didn't open, just like those of a clockwork train. Beth tried her hardest to open the door, but it was no use. The train whistled. It was anxious to be off. "Don't you know how to get into this train?" asked Moonface with a laugh. "You are sillies. You just slide the roof off." As he spoke, he pushed at the roof, and it slid off like the roof of a toy train's carriage. "I think this is just a toy clockwork train made big," said Franny, climbing over the side of the carriage and getting in at the roof. "I never saw such a funny train in my life." They all got in. Moonface couldn't seem to slide the roof on again properly, so he stood up inside the carriage, and when the train went off, Beth and Franny, who couldn't possibly see out of the tin windows, stood up and looked out of the roof instead. They did look funny. At the next station, which was called Doll's Station, 3 dolls got into the carriage and stared at them very hard. One was so like Beth's own doll at home that she couldn't help staring back. The second station was called Crosspatch Station, and standing next to the railway tracks there were 3 of the crossest-looking old women that the girls had ever seen. One of them got into their carriage, and the 3 dolls got out at once and climbed into the next one. "Move up," said the Crosspatch angrily to Moonface. He moved up. The Crosspatch was an uncomfortable person to travel with. She grumbled all the time, and her basket, which was full of prickly bunches of roses, kept bumping into poor Franny. Here we are, sang out Moonface when they got to the next station, and the 3 of them got out gladly, leaving the Crosspatch grumbling away to herself. The station was called Bear's Station, and there were a great many teddy bears about, some brown, some pink, some blue, some white. When they wanted to talk to one another, they kept pressing themselves in the middle, where the button that made them talk was. And then they could all talk quite well. Franny wanted to giggle when she saw them doing this. It did look so funny. "Please could you tell me the way to the 3 bears' house?" Moonface asked a blue teddy bear politely. The bear pressed himself in the middle and answered in a nice growly voice, "Up the lane and down the lane and around the lane." "Thank you," said Moonface. "Sounds a bit funny to me," said Beth, doubtfully. "Not at all," said Moonface, leading them up a little lane through the honeysuckle. "Here we are, going up a lane. And now you see it goes downhill, so we're going down, and presently we'll turn a corner, and go around the lane." He was right. They went up and then down and then around, and there in front of them, tucked into a woody corner, was the dearest, prettiest little house the girls had ever seen. It was covered with pink roses from top to bottom, and its tiny windows winked in the moonlight as if they had eyes. Moonface knocked at the door. A sleepy voice cried, "Come in." Moonface opened the door. and they all went in. There was a table in front of them, and on it were 3 steaming bowls of what some people call porridge and some people call oatmeal. And round it were 3 chairs, one big, one middle-sized, and one tiny. "It's the house of the 3 bears, all right," whispered Beth excitedly. It was just like seeing a fairy story come true. "We're here," said a voice from another room. Moonface went in with Beth and Franny. The other room was a small bedroom with a big bed in it, a middle-sized bed, and in the cot was the most adorable baby bear with the bluest eyes the girls had ever seen. "Where's Goldilocks?" asked Moonface. "Gone shopping," said the father bear. "And where does she sleep when she's here?" asked Beth, looking around. "Does she always live with you now?" "Always," said Father Bear, putting his big nightcap straight. "She looks after us very well. There's a market on tonight in the Enchanted Wood, and she's gone to see if she can buy some porridge cheap. As for where she sleeps, well, she just chooses any of our beds, you know, and we cuddle up together then. But she likes the baby bear's bed best because it's so soft and warm." "She did in the story," said Franny. "What story?" said the mother bear. "Well, the story of the 3 bears," said Franny. "Never heard of it," said the 3 bears all together, which seemed rather extraordinary to Beth and Franny. They didn't like to ask any more questions after that. "Here's Goldilocks now," said the mother bear, and the sound of a little high voice could be heard coming nearer and nearer. The baby bear sprang out of his cot and ran to the door in delight. A pretty little girl with long curling golden hair picked him up and hugged him. "Hello, dearest," she said. "Have you been a good bear?" Then she saw Beth, Franny, and Moonface. She stared at them in surprise. "Who are you?" she asked. Moonface explained about Joe and how he had gone to the land of ice and snow, where the big white bears lived. "I'm afraid that the magic snowman will make him a prisoner there," said Moonface, "and he'll have to live with the white bears. Could you get your 3 bears to come with us and ask the white bears to let Joe go free, Goldilocks?" "But I don't know the way," said Goldilocks. "We do," said Father Bear suddenly. "The white bears are cousins of ours. Moonface, if you can help us with a little bit of magic, we can visit the land of ice and snow in a few minutes." "Good gracious," said Beth, most astonished. "But it's ever so far away, right at the top of the faraway tree." "That doesn't matter," said the Father Bear, and he took down a large jar from the mantelpiece, filled it with water. He put into it a yellow powder and stirred it with a big black crow's feather. Moonface put his hands into the water and began to sing a string of such strange words that Beth and Franny felt quite trembly. The water bubbled. It rose to the top of the jar. It overflowed and ran onto the floor and turned into ice beneath their feet. A cold wind filled the little house, and everyone shivered. Then Beth looked out of the window, and what she saw there filled her with such amazement that she couldn't say another word, but just pointed. Franny looked too, and whatever do you think? Outside lay nothing but ice and snow. They were in the same land that Joe was. Now, how this land had happened, neither Beth or Franny could make out. "We're there," said Moonface, taking his hands out of the jar and drying them on his red handkerchief. "Can you lend us any coats, bears? We should be cold here." Mother Bear handed them thick coats out of the cupboard. They put them on. The bears already had thick fur, so they didn't need anything extra. "Now to go and find Joe," said Moonface. "Come on, bears, you've got to help." We'll find out if they can in the next chapter. Chapter 10, The Battle of the Bears.